Hey guys, let's see if this works. Hey everyone, welcome. Thanks for coming to the talk. Hope you're a little bit interested in marketing. Um, let's see if everyone is here. If everyone is seated, I'll just start with the talk. So today we're going to talk a little bit more broad about like the basics of marketing. We're going to start with a sushi case study. Then I'm going to zoom a little bit back into, what is marketing in Web 2? How does it compare to, marketing in Web 3? And then end the session with a little bit of alpha. I have to say, if you're really deep into DeFi, this alpha you probably already know. But for the ones that are not very deep in DeFi, it might be cool for you to know. Starting off, I think the reason I wanted to give this talk and the reason also for you to listen to me is that it's been very clear to a lot of people, what developers do, or what designers do, or what business development people do. But marketing has always been kind of like a collective term for people that either do events, do random like PR stuff, write a little bit of content, do a little bit of shilling. And I just wanted to, it's not that it's not marketing, but I just wanted to give you guys a little bit of more context of what do you need to think about whenever you're talking about marketing strategy. But before we get there, a little bit about me. So my name is Bella, also known as 0x Bella. So I have a Web 2 and Web 3 marketing background. Back in the days, I started my career out in Google, got promoted to product marketing manager, then went ahead to work as a business unit manager for Hewlett Packard, and in between worked for a crypto retail fund, BlockM's Capital. Started in crypto in 2016, and then full-time working around like late 2020, early 2021. Started my career out at Dopex, which is a decentralized options protocol in Arbitrum, and now also working at Sushi as head of marketing. Cool, so let's get started. A quick primer on SushiSwap. I think most of you probably already know it, but in case you don't, SushiSwap was actually the most successful community fork to date. And yeah, I will just quickly go over what a fork is in case you don't know it. Basically, you copy the code of a project and then you deploy it yourself, and then you can do whatever you want with it. Basically, what Sushi did is put a food token on it. Very cool, very interesting. I'll get back to that in a little bit. But a step back, what is a decentralized exchange? Basically, a decentralized exchange is very similar to a regular exchange, but the main difference are basically three things: immutability, censorship resistance, and self-custody. The first two basically tell you that withdrawals cannot be halted by anyone. Even if they basically take away the UI, you can still interact with the contract. So basically, everything runs on code. The self-custody part is very interesting, especially if you want to manage your own funds, as we've seen with USDC. It's you really don't want to have all of the things on an exchange and then being locked out of it. You want to have things on on your own wallet, basically. Sushi allows this, so it's a decentralized exchange. And how it came to existence is actually, there was a guy or girl who named themselves Chef Nomi. They basically copied the code of Uniswap. And in order to attract a lot more liquidity, to basically be successful and to run a decentralized exchange, you need people that provide liquidity. So what they did is they came up with a token. That token actually gave you ownership. And what does that mean? Basically, with that Sushi token, you were able to vote, but you were also able to get like fees from the decentralized exchange. While introducing that token, after I think about, let's say, within the week time of introducing that token, they were able to get about like 1.5 billion in total value locked, stolen from Uniswap. Which is really great success, because like how much money can you actually get from like an imaginary token? Obviously, you all know, with a lot of farms, people just farm the token, especially the large players, and then dump the token, which happens all the time. From a marketing point of view, it's actually not that bad. I'll get to that a little bit later. But it is something that, you get mind share, you get a reputation, you get a lot of attention from users as well as people in the market. So what is the marketing case here? Basically, it is something that's become a template for a lot of projects to date. They create their own token, offer insane yields, and with these yields, they basically, bootstrap their first set of TVL. With that TVL, they're able to, bootstrap their treasury, but also getting a lot more people in the project, basically creating their own community. All of this can be kind of categorized into growth marketing, and it's something that happens both in Web 2 as well as Web 3. So now you kind of have an idea of what most of the projects have been doing in crypto on marketing front. Let's head back and understand what is marketing strategy. So at the start of the talk, I talked a little bit about all the random things like events, PR, content marketing, and basically all of memes. These are all tools. They're needed to execute on whatever the framework is, but it is not the strategy itself. Basically, the most important part is go back and understand within your project, whether you're offering a product or service, how does your customer get to your product or service? What is the whole user journey? And I think that is why the marketing funnel here exists. So a quick example and primer of what the marketing funnel actually means. So let's say, let me give you an example out of Dubai. Let's say you're currently in Paris, where it's a little bit colder. You walk past, the subway, and you see an ad. You see an ad for, let's say, a wool coat. The first time you pass it, which is the awareness phase, you see the wool coat, but you don't really think about it, which is fine. You walk away. Second time around, you walk past that ad again, which is the interest phase. This time around, you'll notice a little bit more details. You'll notice, what is the brand about? Maybe, who is the model? It catches a little bit more of your attention. Still, not really interested. Then you feel that it's getting chilly. So you walk past it, and that's the consideration phase, where you look at the ad and you're like, hey, maybe I actually need a wool coat. But still, you're procrastinating. You're not doing anything with it. And that is why the funnel is quite long, because the next time you come, it's actually cold, and that's what we call the intent phase, where you actually are considering to look into buying. Between the intent and the purchase, there's also an evaluation phase where you actually go online, look for the code, and then decide if you want to buy it or not. All of these different segments, they each have a different target audience, as well as different needs and goals of that audience. So for a good marketing strategy, whether you're selling a service or a product, you actually need to look at each layer and have a strategy, or at least an activity ready for all of these stages. In Web 2, everything is very, very clear. We have the dashboards that to measure everything. We have the data to benchmark whether or not we're going forward or not going forward with something. But in Web 3, it's a little bit different on that front. TLDR here is basically market or marketing growth. Has two parts to it. There's organic traction and paid traction. In Web 2, very simple. A lot of companies get VC funded. Let's say an Airbnb or an Uber. They get a lot of capital injection. What they do with it, they buy their customers, basically. They subsidize a lot of their trips. They subsidize a lot of their rides and stuff like that. But they also buy a lot of ad space just to kickstart a community. With Web 3, we also do that to a lesser extent, because we're not that well funded yet. You can think of airdrops. Basically, you're paying for people to come to your community, or referral programs. You're subsidizing them to basically come and try out your product. So the difference in Web3 in this regard is actually that we basically topple the funnel upside down, and you look at basically the community level a lot more. So once you have a little bit of foothold, you did your airdrop, or you did your liquidity farming, and people come to your Discord or whatever channel you're on. The most important part here for really smaller projects is actually to get people to love you. Make sure that people spread the word. Make sure that people contribute, because just with your core team, you can't do it all alone. The reason that people love you is also you have to have a good product. It needs to be a product that people actually want to use, find useful. And that's why product market fit is very, very essential at this stage. I think the one key thing that we're lacking, which is also the reason why it's really, really hard to do effective marketing or have a marketing strategy in crypto, is we're kind of like the blind leading the blind right now. We don't have the tools or the dashboards to give us insights into what we're doing and what we're doing, if that is doing well, or we should maybe stop it or maybe do it in another way. The good part is I've been getting reach outs from little projects that have been working on these tools and this infrastructure for quite some time now. So they will get here. It's currently just not ideal. So that is a little bit it about the context of the strategy. So what does it mean for you as a project owner? I think what's important to realize is that marketing, especially when you're small, you're not looking for someone that has specialized knowledge. You're not looking for the social media marketer. You're not looking for someone that does conversions or something really well. You're looking for a generalist that understands multiple aspects of marketing. The most important part here is that a lot of the things that you see here, this is kind of like a reference, a guideline. It's not a checklist, but a lot of the roles and tasks are quite overlapping. I think the key, let's say, skill to look for is actually someone that is very, experienced in project management. So in my opinion, the first person you need to hire is actually a product marketing manager. And this person is basically kind of like a product manager, but much more focused on the users, much more focused on translating everything that the developers create to all the different audiences that basically are interested in your product, whether that is, experienced users as well as, basically retail to actually technical people. There's a lot of education needed, and of course, community management. Then the second role, which is very interesting, which also kind of is like a mix of a lot of different roles, is a growth and socials marketing manager. And that person is much more focused on the external side of things, so the external communication side. Someone that can hold the fort on the social media, is able to write press releases, is able to maybe, if you're lucky, is a little bit more funny, can throw around memes. But it's not only that, because that person also has to understand and measure all the analytics that come from all of these activities. There's a last thing that I put 2 exclamation marks, which is community management. It is a whole different sector and segment within the company, but I understand that a lot of starters, especially small projects, don't have the runway to hire too many people. But community management is also a very, very, very important aspect. And when you scale up, you can think of partner marketing. You're going to probably do a lot of BD work, partnering with projects. There needs to be a person, dedicated person, that goes there, does the events, talks with partners, gets all the partner material ready, does a competitor research, and then content marketing on its own is also very important to get people in. Because whatever we do, especially in crypto, it is a very difficult product, and you just really, really need to have people that can write on different levels, different tone of voices, and different, writing styles. So that is a little bit about the roles. In terms of communication channels, and this is specifically for the audience in the Western Hemisphere, I think the most important part, if you're starting your own project, the must-haves are Twitter, Discord, Telegram, and your own blog. And depending on what the project is about, you'll have nice-to-haves. An NFT project will have different channels, obviously, than an actual DeFi product. But yeah, even that is dependent on your strategy. But I think these 4 things are quite essential to any project, even in Web2 across the board. The last part, the difference, is the memes. The memes are actually more important than a lot of people realize. The memes help the community, cope together, celebrate together, but also it's very important to go a little bit viral. So if you have good memes, a good example is Dopex in this case. What they did is they created, they took the green Pippin, made it a diamond one because of, the diamond hands. And it kind of went into a whole spiral into a subsidiary now, which is called Diamond Pippis. Definitely look that one up. It's very, very fun. So yeah, I think that is something that you should really look into as well. That's it. That's about like marketing. I do need to give you a small part of mandatory shilling, which is also like kind of like a sneak peek, which may be interesting for most of you. First on, the Sushi Cross-Chain Swap. So it's actually a recently launched product, I think a few months old. And what it is basically you have, instead of like having to bridge, let's say your Ethereum mainnet and doing a lot of like random stuff on a bridge and then having it on, let's say, Arbitrum, you now have one interface, very simple, same swap module. You can just, bridge to 7 different chains through a really, really large set of different products. Check it out, write down the URL, very cool. And then for the people that know what the struggle is with sushi, with all of the Japanese names, and nobody knows what it's about, there is a new product out called Sushi Academy, which is an academy, a learning tool for beginners. So there's a lot more than just sushi. There's also like DeFi topics that you can learn about, but more of a Wikipedia for the advanced user that already understands, what lending is, what vaults are, and stuff like that. And this is just to look up things that you still don't know. Now we go to DopeX. So DopeX is decentralized options exchange. I think one of the things is like, why isn't a decentralized options exchange on the chain? I think there's a few things that we touched on earlier in the talk as well. Not your keys, not your coins. So obviously you want to have, interact with something that runs in code. DopeX offers a lot of interesting options trades that you can do on smaller cap coins that is not possible on bigger centralized options exchanges. No KYC involved, also very easy UI. Definitely check that out. Quick introduction, like why you should do that, as like why would you trade options at all? You can do this to hedge. It could serve as an insurance. You can make speculative bets on it, or just form like a passive revenue. Sounds really, really, hard. But it is all made easy as well. Scan the code here to go to Dopexpedia, which is a knowledge base talking about all of the different products and offerings that Dopex has, and how you can basically make bets and not have to get liquidated on your positions, basically. So if you're interested in that, definitely check this one out. That's it. Thank you so much. If you have questions or you want to, check anything out, if you're a project founder and you have anything that you want to ask, don't hesitate to reach out to me. Follow me on Twitter, and for the ones that don't have Twitter, I also added my LinkedIn. Thanks, guys.